Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Yes, we're talking with Jonathan Rose again today. He's with Genesis Gold. You can reach him at prophecyclubgold.com. 30 years in the metals business, owned his own business 20 years. And I think most important, it's a Christian, he says faith-based, Christian-based organization that will help you and take care of you, not just trying to milk you or trying to make money off of you. There are times where they're almost so good as to just call them and just when you need to talk to somebody. So they're good people, and they love Prophecy Club people because they don't have to teach you. They don't have to train you. When Prophecy Club people call in, they're almost teaching the gold and silver selling people. Okay, so Jonathan, welcome to the Prophecy Club.
Well, thank you for having me. A pleasure always to be with you, Stan.
My first question I think I want to say today is gold or silver? When gold, when silver? When is it a good time for a person to buy gold? When is a good time for them to buy silver or some of the other metals?
Yeah, great question. I'm not sure if you've heard me say this before, but we have a saying in our industry, and it's you don't wait to buy gold, you buy gold and wait. And this is very true today with everything that's happening and unfolding in front of our very own eyes, market meltdowns, tariff wars, instability. So this is a good testament of why you buy gold and wait. In terms of when to buy gold, when to buy silver, or which metal to buy, I say both. I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer here. I think silver's lived in the shadow of gold for many, many years, and I think it always will. First place in the metals, gold. Second is silver, and so on. I think when you look at a financial hedge against currency devaluation, inflation, instability, that's exactly what gold provides. Like if you were to pick up a tin on a shelf, gold, and you look at the ingredients, protects against instability, market meltdowns, worldwide conflict. So gold is reacting how it should be reacting right now. And where gold goes, silver does follow. Now, a lot of people like to own silver because it's more tradable, more spendable. And if you look at an industrial chart for silver and you start looking at the economic factors of supply and demand, the demand charts for silver stand right now through the roof. It's continuing to escalate year upon year. So in terms of upside potential and a runway to get to new historical highs, I personally think that silver is going to be the new gold, right? Because right now where silver's hovering around, I think when I look at my charts, about $35 for spot or something around that, 32. You've got money managers coming out on Wall Street now saying $150, $200. I've even heard $500 an ounce for silver. Now, these are very bullish figures, but these are actually coming from very conservative asset managers. So the fact that they're coming out there and giving very strong, extremely bullish signals for the silver, you really do have to pay attention. So in terms of, when's there a good time to buy gold or silver, or which one? I personally like both. Obviously, when you think about instability in the world and currency devaluations and what asset correlates positively against that, gold flashes into people's minds, right? So when you look at that inverse relationship from the US dollar versus the yellow metal, then gold's going to win every time. So there's definitely a need for both of them.
It reminds me of an old saying. When do you tell your wife you love her? The answer is before someone else does. So when do you buy gold and silver? The answer is before someone else does. In other words, before it's too late. Now, we know that Shane Warren said he heard the audible voice of God say that silver is going to skyrocket far more than gold. And your other guy, Brad, I believe I had him on, he said that the reason, his opinion, was that silver's going to skyrocket because basically they aren't finding any more of it. They're still finding gold, but silver, there haven't been any new mines in a long time. Is that about right? Did I word that right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely going to be in the next few years a shortage, because let's say they found a brand new silver mine tomorrow or even today. Okay. It takes 11 years to actually set up a mine, excavate the ore out of the ground, put it into a refinery. I mean, this is a year upon year process. It takes almost a decade, seven years minimum to extract metals out of the ground. Now, there's lots of metals in the ocean, but the cost to extract that metals far exceeds the price per ounce. So
Okay.
that's
What
why
is
we look
Trump
at
doing? What is Trump doing to gold and silver?
Well, Trump right now, if you're a gold or silver holder, you're probably very happy. If you haven't purchased gold or silver, it's definitely not too late, because, President Trump came out, clearly addressed the nation and stated, expect mid
Going up, right?
mid to short-term pain for long-term gain. And what's this pain? Well, we're seeing the pain now. Tariff wars. Everybody's talking about tariff wars. And in fact, I was just reading an article this morning, where we're imposing these taxes on these other countries. And when he talked about tariffs, I'm glad he came out with this board. I'm not sure if you saw his speech yesterday, but he came out holding like a board, like my child would have at school when they're doing a project. And he was listing on there, like, each country, what we're paying them, because there's a lot of confusion where people are saying, well, why are we charging all of these high tariffs to these countries? Why? Well, it's because it's been such an unfair playing field.
Right.
They've been sticking it to us for decades. It's been an unfair advantage. America's been paying, billions and billions of dollars out of our country, that's been hurting us financially. And now President Trump is saying enough is enough. So we're trying to say, well, you know what? If you're taking 75 from us, we want to take back 25. And it's actually a very fair plan. But right now, the markets are reacting in extremely.
Let me give you an example. My older brother worked for Alcoa Aluminum for many years. He thought he was going to retire there, but about 20 years ago, they just up and moved and went to another country. And the people there had to actually teach the other people in the other country how to do their job. Now, another example. I remember when my dad was, when I was a young man, I mean, like a teenager or before, he had an electric drill. And that electric drill still works today. What, 70 years later, still works. It used to be that America made the best products in the world. Now I buy a light bulb, it comes out of China. Oh, yeah, it's cheap. But then I'm buying it every 6 months. I buy one of these lights for my garage, so when people drive up, it sees them and turns on. Then I buy one of those, maybe 9 months to a year. It's junk. Yeah, sure, it's cheap, but it's junk. By doing this, I know it's going to take some time, but it's going to allow our products to be made in America again instead of all made in China or Vietnam or something like that.
Stan, the big red flag to me was maybe about 6 months ago, where I was kind of outraged by this. But there's some stocks in America, some stocks that are the backbone of this country, and products and brands that are the backbone. One of those companies was invented by farmers, which is the backbones of America. That company is called John Deere. John Deere have been around since the late 1800s. Right. When they started moving their Midwest plants to Mexico because labor was cheaper, the writing was on the wall for me. And I think many companies have followed suit. So President Trump's trying to bring back, and he will bring back these companies to America where it's American-made products. Now, obviously, in order to make that happen, we've got to shake the tree, and some loose fruit is going to fall. So unfortunately, this is what we're seeing right now in the market, where we're seeing a lot of red. But if you're asking me, well, why is the price of gold going up? Why is the Trump administration good for precious metals? It's because gold and silver are doing its job. It's protecting people from uncertainty right now. That's what's going on. So if you have an IRA, you have a 401k, it's very important to understand that during the shaking of the tree and seeing red in the market, and the fruit and the leaves all falling to the ground and spoiling, you want to make sure that you've got assets like gold and silver in your portfolio, because if the market corrects 20, 30% and people have to wait how long for the market to recover? 7, 10 years? It's too long. So people that purchase gold from us, Stan, they're baby boomers, they're retired, or they plan on retiring, and they want to make sure that the money they've worked hard for the past 20 to 30 years is going to be there when they need it most. And something, I still speak to a lot of people, and when I speak to them, there's some common denominator that I notice. And when it comes to investing, a lot of people invest into their family. That's the number. And I believe that, like, you should be investing into your family. It's the number one priority, at least for me as well. But investing into your family, the branches branch out to your finances too. And a lot of people don't understand a lot of this financial jargon, financial confusing wording. When you look at these big banks to me are like big pharma. Big pharma wants to keep you sick, get you hooked, right? And dependent. Big banks are the same. Big banks want you in these high price fees. They want you in debt. They want you spending. And once you're in, you're hooked. You can't leave them. So you've got to kind of break these financial shackles and become financially independent and preserve your own money. And the safest way, in my opinion, to do that is with precious metals such as gold and silver, which have a proven track record. Last year, if I look at my trading charts quickly, 1 year gold's up 36%. I like those numbers. 1 year silver is up 26%.
Okay, let me say something. Essentially, what we've entered into, I think that the tariffs are going to be good, but I think they're going to be good long term. In other words, it takes a while for 50 years of foolishness to be corrected. But what we're looking at short term, as in the next few months to at least the end of the year, and it may be the end of the next year, we're looking at a lot of trouble, a lot of problems. People complaining because they like the cheap light bulbs that don't last. They like the companies shutting down because they want their cheap aluminum. So, but what gold and silver does, this just popped in my head. So Prophecy Club is often in a financial jam. And about 6 weeks ago, I told everybody, and they helped us out of it. But I was in such a financial jam. I thought this, I'll just tell you, somebody sent me a box full of silver coins. And that's kind of like, my emergency. If everything else falls apart, I still got that box of silver. See, so I was in my prayer closet. I'm just being honest. I guess I'll have to go and turn in my silver. But that was a great comfort to me that I had that. And I had an IRA and I had my life, or a 401k, and I had my life savings in it. I don't want to lose it in some smoke because maybe something Trump did, or maybe something the anti-Trumpers did. All of us, we know that there's a day coming that stock market's going to be like a 1929 crash, and when those days hit, I want to have that security. That's a big thing for me.
You hit the nail on the head. So what I love about gold, especially if you put it in an IRA or 401k, it's yours. It's your metal. It's still, you own it. So if a leaky roof happens, family member, an emergency, you can turn it back into cash very quickly. A lot of the times, if you don't need the cash, people even take distributions and then hold on to the metal itself, right? Because I would rather have all the, if I had a safe and I had $100,000 worth of gold coins in there, and next to it $100,000 in paper bills counted, and they were both valued the same today. If we visited that safe 2-3 years down the road, that $100,000 still equates to $100,000 in counting out the total amount. But because of inflation, everything rising, okay, especially with these tariffs, it will buy less consumer goods than it did 2-3 years ago. But the gold will be worth a lot more, because not only does it keep pace with inflation, because of what's happening in the world today. And I'll make something very clear, Stan. I tell people this all the time. We don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does, okay? But we have a very, very good roadmap. And we know what that roadmap looks like. And we know what's coming towards us. We know the tariff wars. is like a big cruise ship trying to do a 360. It's going to take time before the markets correct itself. You know, the US trade deficit's at $36 trillion. We're going to default on our debt come August. This is very serious. And if we don't default, it's because we've cut the debt down, which we need to do. If we can't cut this debt down, and I don't see how they're going to do this, they have to raise the debt ceiling. That's going to weaken the US dollar, which fuels higher gold prices because there's that positive correlation. And it's also going to send the markets again into red. So again, we don't have a crystal ball. We have a good roadmap. These are just the few issues that are coming towards us.
He's got to raise the ceiling. He's got to raise the debt ceiling. So we know, we look at the tariffs, there is a time of difficulty coming. Now, let me go to my next question. Okay, so as I said 6 weeks ago, I was seriously thinking, okay, my little box of silver, I'm going to have to probably go trade it in. Now, how do we do that? I started to even call you and say, look, do I send this to you? How do I get my money back of it? That's my question. How to get my money back out of my box of silver?
I love what you're describing it, because to me, in my mind, it's your little treasure chest, and your treasure chest
is my emergency, you know.
It comes in handy for rainy days like this. So, you know, people who have physical metals and they want to sell it, it's at their home. We will pick it up, FedEx insured. We have a very big insurance policy through Lloyd's of London. So we never ship or pick up any metals without the client being fully coveraged. And then again, the same if you have an IRA or 401k and you want to take a liquidation out of your IRA or 401k, they just give us a call at Prophecy Club Gold, okay, through the link that you provide. And not only do we help set them up with their IRAs, but we also help liquidate. And I'm glad you're bringing this up, because a lot of times, like last year, I think it was, when Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, First Republic, it was like a stampede of elephants trying to rush to the door, buy gold, buy gold. It was absolutely insane. Yeah. But there's one question people forget to ask, and it's the one you just asked. How do I sell it? Is it easy to sell? So it's very important to work with a company that isn't just going to sell you precious metals, but they're going to be there to facilitate you when you go to sell and liquidate, whether that's your treasure chest box at home that we can help with, or whether it's metals in your IRA. So we do both.
Okay, I got two questions. See, because I was thinking, who do I sell this to? You know, how do I get rid of it? How do I get the money out of it? And I wasn't certain I could call and get it through you guys. So I'm glad to hear that. But I was thinking, I actually called the pawn shop, and I said, but they weren't going to give me hardly anything for it. Well, less than what I wanted. Let's put it that way. So even if I had, this is my second question, even if I have coins that aren't Genesis gold coins, or they aren't regular US, in other words, maybe they're just rounds, can you still take those for us, whatever they may be?
Yeah. So, you know, we work with all the mints around the world, the US Mint, the British Mint, the Australian Mint, the Austrian Mint.
We get it from you, we get the best price possible.
Absolutely. You're going to, buy at least at spot price. Sometimes it's even more. If you go to a pawn shop, they're going to obviously buy under spot price because they have to mark it back up. And I'm very not wary of pawn shops, but there's a lot of counterfeit coins coming out of China right now. So it's very important that when you are purchasing gold, you're purchasing what I call mint direct. We only specialize in mint direct coins. And these are coins directly from the mint, white gloved, strapped, tubed, in boxes, not touched by human hands. And they're sent directly to people's homes or directly into their retirement accounts. If you're buying metals from a pawn shop, okay, I have a metals testing kit, okay, because there's a lot of forgeries out there, and you want to make sure that there's a guarantee. We guarantee the purity of all of our metals. I have seen counterfeit coins over the years.
They look good.
They never used to. It was like a novelty. Now you can't tell the difference, especially because of the boxing. The boxing has, the laser die cutters, so it's same. They're like forgeries, spot on forgeries. And now even with the gold, they will do maybe 30% gold and 70% tungsten. So you have to be super careful. That's why we only deal in mint direct gold. We stand behind and back up all the quality of our metals.
Question. Okay, so I've got an IRA, a 401k. I put my life savings in it, and I'm happy. But all of a sudden, something happens with the stock market or with tariffs or something like that, or maybe I get sick or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm going to lose my house or something. If I got to have some money real quick, can I borrow against that 401k or that IRA rather than taking the gold in my possession?
Good question. There are companies out there that provide that. We don't do that because that's considered leverage. Okay. And I wouldn't recommend taking a loan out against your metals, because then if you can't pay it back, you're going to lose your metal. So if you are doing a leverage position, people sometimes do that on homes, or they do that on stock market assets, and they use that as collateral. To me, that's risk. Gold and silver is security. So security plays a completely different role versus risk. So that's something I, in my professional opinion, wouldn't recommend. But if you're looking for security, you're looking for a nest egg, you're looking to diversify out of the US dollar because you're seeing what's happening in front of our very eyes, then you're just moving those dollars sideways and you want to hold on to those metals.
Okay, next question. How do I know when I call you guys that I'm getting the very best price that I can for the amount that I'm buying, be it gold, silver, platinum, or whatever?
Yeah. So this is the main reason people do give us a call, because we have such a stellar reputation that we don't do any of these gimmicks where you get $15,000 worth of free silver, right? If it sounds too good to be true, chances are it's too good to be true. If you go to Prophecy Club Gold, fill out some information on there. We'll send you some e-guides. You can see the types of people we work with. We're a faith-based company, so it's not something we lead with, Stan. But like I said to you, I knew of your show and yourself since 1997, 98. And when I first told you this, you almost questioned me until I answered a couple of questions and you realize, hey, this guy has been listening to me since that time. So there's a reason why we are a faith-based company. We have 2 pastors on staff, and it's a crazy story how they ended up working with us too. But there's a right way to do this and there's a wrong way to do this. And one thing we want to be is a good steward of people's money. We take this very seriously. There's about 70 people, 70, who currently work at Genesis Gold Group. When it comes to rolling over funds like IRAs and 401ks, out of those 70 people, I would probably say a maximum of 5 people are allowed to discuss the money transaction in the portfolios. Why is that? Because we aren't a company that just brings people off of the street, that is just trying to make a quick commission and a quick buck off of gold. People that work for us have financial backgrounds, have financial literacy, have been in this market for over 30 years. As people may have remembered my face on your show, I worked for Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, worked on the London Metal Exchange. All I've ever known since a child at 18, and I'm now 50, nearly 50, is it's been in the financial services. And that's all I've ever done. And the people that handle money here, it's exactly the same. They have the same background. They've only been in financial services. So it's very important that you've been working for 20, 30 plus years. You have an IRA, 401k, and it's your nest egg. You want that nest egg to be professionally treated by a professional that's been in this market and can actually speak from experience and from an opinion piece where they actually know what they're talking about. So it's very important to work with the right firm.
Okay, I'm going to give you another reason why you want to call 800-200-GOLD, prophecyclubgold.com. If I don't start getting emotional, there's been a couple of times when I've been in a jam and I called Jonathan. And obviously the way this works is, if someone sends them some money, sometimes they can send us a blessing out of it, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's been a few times I called Jonathan and I said, help.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, Stan, there's really nothing in the kitty. But how much do you need? and he bailed us out on a couple of. So what I'm trying to say is, this is not just about buying gold and silver. This is about helping your prophecy club. This is a group of Christians, if I don't get emotional over this, a group of Christians that are trying to help each other. And there's been a couple of times I've had to call Jonathan and said, man, I'm in a jam. I'm in a jam. And he wired me off. There's 3 or 4 times. Wired me off some money, and it kept us out of the red. So you don't want to do business with anybody else. 800-200 gold. Jonathan. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. You know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Tell us how to reach you.
Absolutely. So let me jump into action here. So obviously, Prophecy Club Gold. I'm just kind of taken back. I really appreciate your kind words. It means a lot to us. And I think when people get to know us more on a personal level, there's a relationship to be had as well with people that's at our company. And I think your listeners and your audience will find that out. So yeah, feel free to get an education. That's why I say it all begins with investing in gold. So prophecyclubgold.com. We have an investor library there, a wealth of information as the building blocks to kind of answer some of these questions we're already discussing and just kind of get catalogs and pictures of nice coins, nice bars to kind of understand the product. And then if they want to speak to us directly, 800-200 gold. I know that's an easy number to remember, but if you don't have the numerical keypad with the numbers and letters on it, it's 800-200-4653. And again, we're happy to help your audience. Like you started the show with, your audience is very blessed with knowledge. And these are people, again, that have invested into their family. And the finance is just obviously a branch of what's happening right now to their family because they're feeling the impact, whether it's the trade wars, currency devaluation, fears of the stock market. The acorns they've been putting away, they want to make sure that they're there for the future. So again, Prophecy Club Gold, and we look forward to talking to you.
Jonathan, thank you, my brother. Thank you for being on. I didn't have anything to say today. Once again, you bailed me out. Thank you for your help. Thank you for being on. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for supporting us. And thank you for supporting Genesis Gold at prophecyclubgold.com.
In a world of uncertainty, be prepared with Silver Prepper Bars, your ultimate hedge against political instability and economic turmoil. Introducing the Silver Prepper Bar, crafted from 0.999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. This tangible, divisible asset can come in handy even in the toughest of times. Now is the time to secure your precious metals in the form of Prepper Bars, the only bar on the market divisible into 3 sizes for maximum utility. Place your order before supply runs out and prices go up. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Don't leave your future to chance. All payment methods accepted. Order your Silver Prepper Bars now. 0.999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. Silver Prepper Bars, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Order now.